Welcome to part 3 of our Galaga tutorial in Godot here. For this part, we created a simple player in our last part, and we created a main scene and set things up. Here we're going to create a background image for this, and so it looks a little bit better. It's a little nicer to work with as we go. So in Godot here, I've opened up this project again, and we're looking at main scene here. So when we run this, we just have just this player and just this gray background, which is, again, not super exciting. Going to go from there. So we're going to go create a new scene called map. And I'm going to just leave it a 2D scene here, just like we did for the player. And that's all we've got. So what I want to do with this is I want to create a map scene and have it stored in here. I'm going to add that to the main scene. But this way the main scene isn't cluttered up by all of our display stuff or just having a like having stars or a black background or something like that. The main scene just has a map, and then the map itself handles what it looks like. What I want to do is I want to add stars to it. So we're actually going to add particles to this. So we can add a node by clicking on this plus thing here, and I'm going to add a GPU particles 2D node here. We want it to be in 2D, so I'm going to go from there. Great. Particles are a really powerful thing where they spawn many copies of a particle, but they do it really fast. It's way faster than any other type, and especially when you have a bunch of things with similar properties, we can do that. Okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and I'm going to create a process material. That's the first thing that I need to do here. So I'm going to go click on this, new particle process material. Boom, good, that fixes this error here. It doesn't do anything yet. We're also going to set the texture of the particles here by finding in sprites. I'm going to find star small.png, and I'm just going to drag it over here to the texture property like that. And you can see right now, hey, look at that. We've got stars or some sort of particle thing happening there. Not what we want, but it's working. So let's set this up so that we get stars sort of flowing from the top of the scene down. In order to do that, what I want to do is click on this particle process material here so that we can change the properties. Click on this, and most of the properties of our particle are along here. Okay? We're going to go to spawn, and we're going to go position, and the emission shape, we're going to do a box. Okay? And we're going to set this box to 300 wide. You can see it's now spawning all along a line here, but I want it to spawn a little bit more over here. So I'm going to give it an offset of 300 as well. So if you remember, our scene is actually 600 wide. So now the center of this box is at 300, and it goes 300 either direction so that it's spawning all along the top here, which is great. We can actually offset it by 300 here, or we could adjust the emission. We could adjust the emission shape or the transform of this as well, but this will work great. What we should do, though, is we don't want our stars to have gravity on them. That's kind of weird here. So we're going to go find your accelerations here, find gravity, and just set it to 0. Like that. You can see the stars are just appearing just a little bit there, right? They're just appearing and then disappearing from there. Okay. We do want them to move down the screen, though. Like, we want them to just sort of fly down at a consistent speed. So let's go to the spawn velocity section here. I'm going to go spawn velocity, and we're going to go and set these properties to sort of direction here. We can say our initial velocity, let's say set this to 25. This is our minimum and this is our maximum, so maybe 50. Something like that. You can see the direction's wrong because they're all going over to the right here. So I'm going to set my direction to 0 on X and 1 on Y, and you can see they're going down here. I want to set the spread to 0 so that they go straight down like this. There we go. And we can start figuring out what we've got from that. I'm going to need to change these. I will need to change the speed of these at some point, but I think that's actually a decent start from there. Maybe I'll set this to 30 and this to 10. Yeah, I can adjust that. So the velocity here you might want to go back and fix later so that it looks a little prettier. And depending on how fast the enemy ships come flying down, you may want these stars to look at a different speed from there. Okay. We also want, looking at this, these stars are probably going to be too big. I think I want to adjust the scale of these. So I'm going to go and find my display here and find scale. And I'm going to set the min and the max to 0.5. And that's a little bit better there. So our stars are a little bit larger. Okay. Our stars are disappearing way too quick though. So we're going to need to go and go down to our time property here. And I'm going to go find my lifetime. I'm going to set the time to 20 seconds. The other thing is, this is going to spawn a couple of stars here, and they're going to last for about 20 seconds. Great. I want the stars to show up as soon as we run this scene, so I'm actually going to set the pre-process to 20 seconds here. And this means when your game starts, it's already going to look like there's stars. Okay. Now, let's see. Let's make our visibility rectangle here. Where did that one go? Drawing. There we go. Visibility rectangle. What we're going to need to do is make the width here. It's going to need to be 600. And the height is going to be 800. Go like that. And we're going to set this to 0, 0. This means that our particles are going to line up with our screen. So it should be all right. Okay. Let's see. Do we need to do anything else? Well, this here, yeah, there's not enough stars. I want more stars, and I also want these stars to make it all the way to the bottom here. So I want to go, let's go way up here to the top. We're going to go change the amount to, let's say 100. Yep, that's better. I like that. More stars there. I also think that maybe I should change the velocity or the time because they're disappearing about here. So, and if I actually look, there's some of them that are disappearing here. So I'm going to need to increase the time on this quite a lot. So let's say that maybe if I double the time on this, double the time on that, and then let's go here to my spawn velocity, and then let's make this, say, 25 to 50. I think that should be pretty good. If I'm noticing this here, I am seeing some of them disappear here. And what I could do is I can go, if my minimum velocity here is 25, and my lifetime is 40, well, if I multiply those together, that's going to tell me how far down this it's going to go. Okay? 25 to 40 is not going to make it all the way down here. So that's okay. Let's actually, yeah. Oh, it's doing a little better there. There we go. Oh, I just had to wait for it to update. Okay. If we notice that that's a problem, we can adjust that later. Okay. I want to do something neat, though. I want to actually make it look like the slower stars are further away. This is something called parallax, where we can, if you ever look out the window as you're driving on a car, you can see that the farther away stuff is smaller and appears to move slower. So we can trick this into doing that. Okay. So I'm going to go to display here, and I'm going to do something neat. We're going to go to scale over velocity. This scale over velocity here, I'm going to click on that and go new curve texture. And then if I click on this, I can set this up. Okay. I can click on the curve now to create this curve. I'm going to change these properties here. So scale over velocity min is going to be, let's say, 0.2, and scale over velocity max is going to be 1. And then I'm going to change this to 1 here. oops, what I want to do is change this. See if this is working right. Oh, sorry. I need to set this correctly. These should actually be like this. There we go. Let's adjust this. What have we got here? One second. All right. Just double checking on this. Here's what we actually need to do. We need to set that to 5 and 50. And then we're going to set this to just linear like this. There we go. So this scale over your velocity here should be the minimum that you have. We could actually slow that down. I'm going to set that to 10 and 50, and I'm actually going to go up and change my velocity here to be 10 and 50. And let's see, how does that look? Not bad. One thing I want to do, though, I'm going to zoom to 100% here and watch. See this star right here? I don't know if you can see this on the video, but there's a star here that's flickering a little bit. I don't think I want that. So I'm going to try changing these just a little bit just to see if that fixes that problem. And let's see what we've got. Our stars are a little bit bigger. Some of these were a little too small. So let's actually boost this curve up just a little bit there. And that looks a little better. That way they're not being so weird. And then I'm going to go down and actually make the lifetime longer as well because I slowed them down a little bit. So I've got 15 there, so let's make this 60. Should be good. So there's my stars. That's pretty good. And you can see here's the properties of this. So 15 to 50 for the speed, and then I've got this curve here. This basically says the slower the stars are, the smaller we're going to draw them, which actually works pretty nicely here. So I think that's kind of nice. Great, except space is black. So I'm just going to find this black background here, and I'm going to just drag it onto my scene like this. It'd be pretty straightforward, except it's hiding the stars, and I don't like that. So I'm going to click on black background here. I'm going to set this so that it's centered because its anchor is here. So I'm going to set this to 300 and 400 on my transform so that it's in the same spot. And then to make it draw behind the map here, the easiest way is to just drag it above there in the scene dock here. You can go from there. Now I've got stars in a black background, which looks great. We could put another picture in here if we wanted to, and things would look just fine. But we can change this and go from there. So save this scene here, and from here, we're going to go back to our main scene, and we're going to drag our map into the main scene here. I'm going to put it above the player because I want it to draw behind the player in term when the game actually is running. And if I run my game here, you can see I've got yay stars, and I've got my little ship that flies around quite happily, and the little stars there. Feel free to tinker with this. This is something that we can add, and I've added in the scale and the scale over velocity to make this look nice, but there's lots of different things you can do with this in order to make this look pretty. Hope this has been helpful, and I will see you in the next section where we look at adding enemies to this.